Now, we've talked a bit about underdogs, and there could have been no bigger underdog than Vlambeer. Despite the odds, this indie game studio has produced hit after hit. And here to chat about those successes is Dean Takahashi and the strategic director and co-founder of Vlambeer, Rami Ismail. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Dean Takahashi and Rami Ismail.
Thank you. So Rami, you've been traveling around the world a lot as the sort of resident spokesman for the indies.
Yeah, you could say that, I guess. That's an odd title to have, since indie stands for independent. But
yeah. Well, tell us more about Vlambeer, your co-founder.
So Vlambeer was founded 6 years ago. It's an independent studio based in Utrecht in the Netherlands. It was founded by me and a fellow university dropout. The first game we made was a freeware game that won a whole bunch of awards in the independent space, and then from there we kind of grew. We're probably best known for a game called Ridiculous Fishing, which is a fishing game on iOS, won iOS Game of the Year back in 2013, and is effectively about fishing with machine guns. We did a game
That's
called...
not my favorite game list of games of the year. For that year, 2013.
And then we did Luftrauses, which released on PC and PlayStation, and recently we released Nuclear Throne, for which we live streamed development every Tuesday and Thursday, and then released it after 2.5 years in early access on Steam and PlayStation.
So this, I don't know what you call it, the bullet hell genre or so, but you guys are really good at this moment-to-moment gameplay.
Yeah, we like overwhelming our players with so much input that they really have to get good at the game to be properly able to play it.
You've done this with very small teams and a kind of an outsourcing model, I guess. Right?
Yeah, we like to think of ourselves as a networked organization. So the core company is just 2 people, and then everybody else is distributed around the world, either freelance or just people we work with at partners or other companies. And that's been working really well for us. We can adapt really quickly, and staying small makes us really agile. So whenever something happens in the industry, we can be there first before anybody else can.
So what's sort of the secret to getting attention and to doing multiple hits?
Ooh. Well, one of the things that's good is being in places first, and being in places where nobody else is looking. So for Nuclear Throne, we live streamed most of that development when nobody else was doing development live streaming yet. So we actually showcased the creation of code and assets and really build a community there. For Ridiculous Fishing, it was making that really high quality, super polished, very positive free-to-play game without free-to-play. So it was a premium game, but it was completely developed around the ideas of the retention and the engagement of a free-to-play game, just without those mechanics.
Just on live streaming code creation, would you do that again? I mean, is that a good idea?
No, actually, it turns out that a lot of the audience, a lot of game players are actually very engaged with the industry on a higher level. It was something somebody in the intro noted as well. The games industry is rather unique in that a lot of gamers are very, very interested in how their entertainment gets made and who makes it. So showing that live was actually really good for the game.
So you're also this outspoken indie voice.
Yes.
You've weighed in on Gamergate, Crunch Time, Muslim representation in games, diversity, indie game development in general. How do you feel about representing the indie view on all these big issues here?
Well, I think it's important to realize that I represent one indie view on all of these things, but I think what resonates with a lot of independent developers is that it's just very open and very me. I like to say what I think and what I believe. And through my travels around the world, I spend a lot of time flying. For those who don't know me, I fly on average once every 3 days. I was in Croatia 2 days ago. I'm going to be in Singapore in a day and a half. I visit independent games communities around the world to just talk to them and help them establish a community where they are. And you just learn a lot about what is happening around the world in independent development. So I have some knowledge of what independent development is doing around the world. I think there's not a lot of people that have that perspective, and that has given me the ability to say things on behalf of independent developers without them all getting really angry at me. So that's nice.
Well, people on Twitter get angry at you anyway, right?
Well, yeah, but that's Twitter. Everybody, like whatever you say on Twitter, people will get angry. I've gotten rather lucky. I mean, I've been at the center of controversy. Tim mentioned that it was not a good idea to take on Microsoft, and I did that once, which indeed is not a very good idea. But also, like you mentioned, Gamergate has been I'm one of their favorites to attack, I guess, nowadays. Outside of like the main targets, like the obvious, like the names that they've been going after for a long time. But anybody that's outspoken and talking about diversity, talking about making the industry a better place is going to be a target of theirs at some point because they just want things to stay as they are, and they will not.
So you could say this distracts you from doing what you want to do, maybe.
No.
But do you feel there's some kind of duty here for you?
No, I don't think so. I think for a lot of creators, I think anybody that is here is passionate about the games industry at large. Like anybody that is here wants the games industry to be the best place it can possibly be, to have the largest audience it can possibly have, to have the biggest impact on the world it can have. And part of that is that sometimes you have to speak up. And sometimes you have to go talk to people, like actually go there and talk to people and see what they're doing and what is happening. So I don't think of that as a distraction, and I think it actually helps me do the best job I can, and it helps me pick our projects in a way where they will have the largest impact as well.
So what do you think of platform owners from the indie point of view, I guess?
Well, it's funny. So platform, like Xbox, PlayStation, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, the funny thing is they've been doing everything right, and that has kind of backfired in a beautiful way in some ways. Like independent creation is such a broad spectrum, right? You have like people in their living room, like creating a game at night, and they have these bigger studios like Capybara that are effectively working with 20 to 40 people. And what is interesting is that platforms have done really well to make sure that the process for those independent creators that are larger is really easy, but in that way also sort of like burn the bridge for anybody new coming up. Like it's interesting because a lot of people say it's easier than ever to make games, which I guess is true, but it's probably harder than ever to bridge that opening gap. And we're losing a lot of talent in the sort of like the new group, the people that are coming up that weren't there back in 2010 when independent development still meant that you could start small and then very slowly grow. Nowadays it's a leap. If you don't have a running start and a leap, there's no way you're going to make it. And Greenlight is pretty much emblematic of that, but also programs like ID at Xbox. And they just, while they do good work, they also showcase that it is hard to do something that includes every possible expression. So there's work to be done. I don't know what the solution is. There's beautiful platforms like itch.io appearing now, specifically catering to that smaller audience. And they've had their first hits. There's games on there that have, for an independent developer, for a small independent developer, a starting independent developer, have made over $100,000, which, in the large scale of things is nothing, but for somebody just starting out, might just give them the chance to make that leap.
So there's Mihai Pohantu from Samsung over there. There's Noah Falstein from Google. There's folks everywhere from all the platforms here. What more do you want out of them?
Well, I mean, the main thing is understanding that independent creation is a very diverse, a very difficult thing to communicate with. You need people that are actively reaching out to get that content, and that content can be very valuable. Like somebody mentioned Minecraft before, which really is a once in a generation game. But it might not be. Randomness is weird. There might be another Minecraft. There might be other big games that come out of that independent space. And really the things you want is to make sure that whatever you do, the contracts you have, the rules you have, do not exclude creators from launching on other platforms, because launching on one platform at this point is financially devastating. And then on top of that, make sure that your pipeline, your process is not based on the idea that if somebody can't deal with the legal paperwork, they'll just hire an extra lawyer, because an independent developer does not have that money, and we can't just hire an extra bookkeeper or accountant or lawyer to deal with that. So keeping things very simple and accessible, and making sure that You still allow developers to publish anywhere. And then basically, if you want to tie them to your platform, doing it by offering such good service that they want to come back. Which I think some of the platforms, we've been working with PlayStation a lot, and literally the only reason we're launching on PlayStation first is that we love working with them every time. And not so much like the exclusivity deal or whatever. Like independent developers are relatively emotional about their business, like relatively personal about their business.
So I guess Vlambeer has interesting opportunities. I mean, you could become a big company. I'm sure you've had people approach you and say, we'd like to help you build your empire.
Yeah, yeah, twice a week.
But you've stayed
3 times a week.
at 2 people. You've probably got venture capitalists chasing you down sometimes. What do you think of all that opportunity?
I mean, every opportunity is worth looking at, I think. At this point, we are very comfortable with where we are. We, like I said, our burn rate is effectively 0. We've been building our studio in such a way that we can hopefully retire not too far from now, and then just start from there, from a very comfortable place. I like retiring, like we're not going to stop making games or anything. We're going to be doing what we are, but we will be safe for a very long time. Which if we can reach that point, we might look into that kind of stuff more.
What roots do you want to remember as an indie?
I mean, the thing that is important to me is that the games industry has given me a lot, and my core tenet has always been to make sure I give back more to the industry than the industry has given to me. So I've been creating a lot of tools for independent developers. I've been doing a lot of public speaking. JW, my co-founder, has also been working a lot and making sure that the ways he thinks about design are communicated, you know, about feedback. So we've all been trying to give back to the industry. We pay our freelancers way over industry rates. Like that is where we are, and that's where we want to be, is we want to be good people. And if we can do that, then we're pretty happy.
Do no evil.
Sorry?
Do no evil.
Yeah, well, you can piss off the big platforms every now and then, but besides that, yeah. Do no evil to people below you, to hold the other ones accountable.
So what's your advice for underdogs then?
So the funny thing is, and that's a question I get a lot, the funny thing is that you should absolutely not be asking me that, because I'm probably one of the worst people to ask. I think most people in this room are the worst people to ask advice for underdogs, except for, you know, the basic ideas of, you know, fail fast, fail often, you know, keep looking at opportunities, stuff like that. But everything else, like, we have to realize that we're looking from a certain perspective at this industry, and that perspective is not the perspective from an underdog. And we will never be able to see those opportunities because we don't necessarily need them. Right? The thing about underdogs is they need the opportunities. So they look at Twitch, they look at esports, they look at the way the industry is moving, they see VR, and they're looking at those opportunities because their company depends on them. Like 100% depends on them. Well, for us, it's an interesting venue or something to look at. I'm way more interested in learning from those underdogs what they're doing. Like, I'm paying a lot of attention to you know, where they're moving. And the ones that survive will have made, you know, the right choice, which is part luck, part smarts. But I'm curious. Like, I think it's a very good, it's a good thing to keep looking at the underdogs, the new people. And for the people that, you know, for who I'm the underdog, I think it's basically what I said. This industry needs to hold both itself, but also our audiences and our creators accountable for what they do and for creating a good environment. Because part of that is going to be crucial if we want to grow our audiences, if we want to make this a global medium. Because even though we like saying it's a global medium, it's really not. We're getting there, but it's. I travel to a lot of places where there's not a lot of video games.
So at GDC, you had a very interesting panel. It went on for an hour on Muslim representation in video games. And it was a very interesting panel to me. And we transcribed every word of it and ran a story on that. I'm kind of curious what your summary of that might be, or your reaction to that, and what you would like to say to people here about that.
It's very similar to what I just said, is that the games industry, we like thinking of it as a global medium, but it is not, right? Like, most games are made from a very Western perspective, or in some cases an Asian perspective, and that is about it. So I got annoyed. So I'm Muslim. I was raised Muslim. I was raised in the Netherlands, but my dad is Egyptian. And I have yet to play a game in which I don't have to shoot me, which, you know, is kind of odd. And then usually when I'm shooting me, the Arabic on the buildings is also not actually Arabic. It just looks Arabic, which if you're spending millions of dollars on cool ragdoll physics, it might be nice to hire, you know, somebody who can read Arabic. But for some reason, a lot of companies just don't. So and I mean, it's not good, not just because we could do better, and we could easily do better, but also because it's discouraging to a lot of people around the world. And it excludes them from enjoying games. Like The Division is an interesting one because it had Arabic, right? But until games like The Division, I think the only games that supported Arabic properly were like FIFA and like I think Wall-E. I have no idea why Wall-E, but Wall-E. And that were the games that, you know, my nephew in Egypt could play. And then besides that, he just didn't really feel part of the games industry. And I think a lot of creators, a lot of talent that lives there, creators, easily feel excluded by that kind of stuff. And it's not just Muslims. I mean, I went to Russia a few months ago, and they basically laughed about every Call of Duty game ever, which is also painful because, you know, it doesn't have to be that way. So there's a lot of opportunity there. There's amazing, like everybody agrees that the Middle East is an amazing market right now, that there is a lot of money in the Middle East. I don't understand why games companies don't spend like the effort on localizing their game for the Arabic market, because there's a lot of opportunity. Same goes for South America. Same goes for pretty much everyone. Maybe, you know, Russia's not economically great right now, but you might as well do it anyway, because there's always opportunity.
So there's this sort of long-standing sort of, I guess, I don't know, just opposition between business people and developers. But you're the business person in your company.
I am the business person, yeah.
How do you feel about that? Like the developers versus the suits, sort of?
I think it's a healthy conflict to have. I think it's an important conflict to have. We always have to balance. Like, games are a very interesting medium because we haven't reached the point yet where it is so cheap to make a game that you could do it entirely without money involved, right? Like, we might be reaching that now with a lot of tools being free, but if you want to make a game and you want to do it kind of like full-time, you need money. You need to earn money, you need to be looking for money, or you need to have another job. And as long as that's true, games are always going to be this interesting, the majority of games are always going to be on that interesting like balance between trying to make an artistic, expressive project and something that will commercially sell. So the way it works at Vlambeer is really simple. JW, my co-founder, has veto power over every creative decision. And then I have veto power over everything else that is not that. And that's the way the company works. And it has worked well for us. We don't really like each other, so that helps. We respect each other.
Yeah.
So I think as long as there's respect between the people doing the business and the people creating the games, that is not an unhealthy conflict to have.
We have a question in the audience. Come back there.
Rami, I like your mindset, your diversity, your absolutely beautiful mindset about thinking, openness, and direct. Second thing I like about your business model, which is basically zero burn rate. My question is about the impact. Since you travel so frequently, what are you doing to inspire young girls and women to either thought through it in technology or inspire them through gaming, since you're already in so many countries and nations?
I mean, that is a different challenge per country. Like, what is interesting, for example, in Saudi Arabia, that is a very interesting challenge because I can't speak to the girls there because they have to be in a separate place from me, for example. But you know, that there are different challenges per country. But in general, what I try to do is make sure that if I speak at events, that I don't participate in all-male panels. That if I go to schools that say like this will be a good program for the boys, I let them know that I would also really like to have the girl students at the event. Like, I think a lot of it is just like the problem with that kind of stuff is a lot of it is very subtle. A lot of it is like the discouragement of like a girl that wants to go into technology, and then a teacher tells her that, you know, math might not be right for her. Like that kind of stuff happens too frequently still. And around the world, it's a very interesting challenge because in a lot of places, the games industry is like 12 people at the moment, and like 11 of them are guys. So there's, you know, you wanna talk to people early about getting that right, but it's not always a direct possibility. So it's a struggle, but it's something that I think the industry has gotten really good at talking about. And I think, you know, like the Twitter conversation a few years back, you had like one reason why, which was the reason women didn't necessarily feel welcome in the industry. But on the other side, you had one reason to be, which was the reasons women did feel welcome in the industry and why they were inspired in the industry. And I think we need to be telling both of those stories because this is a beautiful industry to work with. It has its issues. If we talk about both things, I think we should be in a really good place somewhere in the future.
Thank you very much.
Round of applause, everybody, for Dean and Rami. Thank you so much.